Hey you guys, a couple things is removing these small freeze plugs. I'm gonna remove this larger one and show you how that's done. But with these small ones, if you were to pound those in, they end up getting stuck back there in the cavity, making it really difficult for you to get them out. So what I do, or what I like to do, is actually I drill them out. I'll drill a hole in it, basically a pilot drill, and I'm going to use this. I believe it's a 5/16 lag, and the reason it's a lag is because you have these big flutes. All right, these big flutes to catch that small freeze plug and pull it out. Okay, so I drilled it out, and then now I'm going to put this lag in here. And to get the thread started on the lag, sometimes you just gotta give it a little tap with the hammer and put this puppy in there. The other thing you're gonna need a slide hammer. And with the slide hammer, just make up a little bracket. You can pick one of these up at any hardware store. Now this should just pull it right out, if we're lucky. Sometimes they're a little bit more determined. And this one here actually has some cross marks on here that somebody hatched in there. I'm going to warm up the case just a little bit, just in case there's some Loctite on here holding that little freeze plug in. Oh, this one. There we go. All right, so that's how you get out the little ones. Okay, now to get out this bigger one, this one here, we could tap this one in. All right, now this one, well, you can get a hold of it with these channel locks. Let me get this a little bit more up in there. Sometimes they're a little bit more difficult to get out. Yeah, you don't want to mess up your core. There we go. All right, so that's how you get out your larger one and your smaller one. Let's take out this other little guy right here. Okay, so you can see that took out that little freeze plug. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to put these little guys back in there, especially because there's a hole in them, but I'm going to actually tap these with a 1/4 inch NPT and actually put plugs in here, threaded plugs, pipe plugs, instead of these freeze plugs. You could see somebody had hatched this at one time, so probably worried that they're going to fall out. All right, so let's take out this one real quick. see if this one's a little bit easier to take out than that other one. All right. There we go. That got it right out of there. So that's what you do. You drill a pilot hole first, and the size of that pilot hole, you basically want it to be a little bit smaller than the minor diameter of that lag. And like I said, I believe this is a 5/16 lag, and you just want to drill it so there's a hole going through your small freeze plug, and then you can screw your lag in there and use a hammer puller to actually pull it out. That's it. I hope that little tip will help you in the future, you guys. And there again, now I'm going to tap these out and actually use 1/4" MPT plugs on these, so I don't have to worry about this anymore. But make sure you clean out these holes really well and get all those shavings out of there. Place these 3 plugs in here, and one thing you have to be mindful of is this. These are oil plugs. And you know, I kept calling them freeze plugs, but it's actually oil plugs. This isn't a water passage, it's an oil passage. There's actually a oil passage, hey baby, hey, that goes down to my cam bearing here. And so this has to stay clear. And we can't, by that, we gotta make sure that we do not place this oil plug too deep, okay? And I'll actually put some black RTV on these before they're done. But another thing I wanted to mention was I took my little pneumatic 1/4" sander and actually just beveled this edge. Just put a slight chamfer on my other plugs here, my freeze plugs, just to allow the new ones to go in freely, okay? And the only other thing I would say is that if you notice this casting on here, I believe this is saying this is 1% tin and 2% nickel, which actually makes this a really good block. So this is a Chevy 350, and we're starting off with something pretty good here, and I just hope this helps you out right here. Now this is cast iron. The block is actually cast iron. I'm gonna actually grind this casting stuff off of here. Those are just sharp edges like this, sharp edges that are prone to hit, you know, contact your knuckles. So I'm gonna take those off. But the difference between cast iron and cast steel is that cast iron, when I went to tap this, cast iron has its own inherent lubricity, meaning I don't even have to use a tapping fluid. And the tap 1/4" MPT actually tapped these relatively easy. They were already at a size hole that could accommodate the tap. I didn't have to open them up. So cast iron, when you tap it or you drill it, you're gonna get like powdery flakes. Okay, you're gonna get flakes instead of long chips. If this was cast steel and I go to tap it or I go to drill into it, it would actually produce longer chips, more like a slinky. So the difference between cast iron and cast steel: cast iron has its own inherent lubricity, and a lot of parts used to be cast iron on cast iron back in the 40s and 50s. Cast steel, it's tougher, but then again, it doesn't have its own inherent lubricity. You have to use a tapping fluid or cutting fluid when you're machining it. Okay, hope that lesson helped you out today, and see you guys next time.